The Yamaha R6 is one of the most overhyped sport bikes of all time. I have done 5,000 miles in the saddle in the last few months, and today we're going to talk about my thoughts and what I say might surprise you. Okay, so I had a go at doing some B-roll footage. Let me know what you guys think. I'll get better over time. But I've done 5,000 miles on the R6 now. So I feel like I'm in a place to actually review it for what it is and have a conversation with you guys. So let's start with the amazing things about this bike, because the R6 is truly an incredible vehicle. So let's get some specs out of the way first. There's a 599cc bike officially. It's got my version, the 07. I've got proof. Look. I've done the special glove trick 2007. This has 133 horsepower and it is an incredible ride. I mean, for rev range, Yamaha advertised it would do like 18,000. It really does, like, it peaks at 16, let's be honest. But incredible. Like when you are above 10,000 RPM and you feel the engine underneath you, you feel like you're on a rocket ship. Like no bike that I've ridden before has ever beaten that feeling. It is truly incredible. Also, a lot of people put this down as a con. I'm going to put it as a pro for this bike. For me, is the comfortability of it. I am very comfortable on this bike. The only thing that actually hurts me is my arse, but that's just because I have the stock seat on. I'm going to change it for like one of them nice padded airy seats, and hopefully that will remedy that. But I don't get wrist pain anymore. I do for like the first 10 minutes of riding, but then my wrist just like click into it and I'm fine. So that's pretty good. Okay, but let's get on to the real big deal of this bike, is the look. This is a 2007 sport bike. I wouldn't believe it's from 2007. It has, hands down, the best sport bike design out of any bike to this day, in my opinion. The only one that really kind of goes head to head is the 2018 R1. But you cannot get better than this. This is the Gen 3 officially. Gen 4 looks very similar. It's just got like a little cutout for the mirrors here. So we're kind of like on the side, looks a little bit more aggressive on the front, and I think the tail's a little bit different, but that's really it. And a slightly different engine configuration if you're really getting into the specs. But these bikes look incredible, especially coming up 20 years old. You wouldn't think that. 10 out of 10 for looks. But along with looks comes sound. I have the stock configuration on at the moment if we walk around to the exhaust. I've also done what's called an X-up delete, so the valve in the stock system is forced open all the time. There used to be like an X-up box inside here. I've got rid of that and I've put a termination plug on it, which is chilling just there. What that does is get rid of the engine fault codes. The valve being closed gives you a better low end and apparently a bit more torque. I have no idea, because mine was always forced open, so I just did the delete. Where's the train? But yeah, so X-up delete, I guess you call it a mod I've done, but it's only really worth doing if you want that slightly better sound. I've mainly done it just because I thought it was causing issues, and I've noticed like virtually no difference. But as I said, mine's been forced open the whole time anyway. But the bike feels better now I've done the delete, so I don't know what that's telling the ECU. But whatever it is, it hasn't affected fuel economy, engine feels better, so it's a win-win situation for me. Alright, let's get on to the sound though. So first things first, let's turn the key. Check we're in neutral, that's what I care about. I don't want my bike going flying off into the field they've just ploughed. Which, by the way, this is my second try at recording this. I had to come back out because I messed up the first one so bad. It stunk earlier because I was recording while they were like doing all the tractors up and down. And that was hard, so no, I'm glad I'm out here on my own now. Right, let's have a listen, let's get right close. So I'm not going to rev it too much because a farmer here has called the police on me before, and I'm not going through that again. But you can just hear at the idle is what I care about. High revving, you hear that when you're riding. When you're idling, it is deep. For a stock exhaust, that's pretty good. Another incredible pro of this bike is the cornering and just handling ability of it. The suspension's a bit off, well, not off, a bit hard, but we talk about that later on. But the cornerability, the amount of like movement you can do on the saddle, as well as like it's carved out to your legs, you can really get in the handlebars. You just have maximum control over this sometimes, and it just feels incredible to turn. Like, I've just started doing some new cornering techniques to build my confidence and skill up a bit. Might make a video about it in a few months or so when I get really good at cornering. But my god, this bike just feels like you're like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like you're floating around the corner. It's just so smooth, and you feel so in control as well, which I think is the main thing. So the dream bike of many is the Yamaha R6. Is it really, does it really live up to the hype? Because this is a really hyped up bike. Everyone's like, oh, R6, let's just get an R6. There's another train coming. R6, let's get the R6. I'm going to say some things that are negative about this bike that I've realised after 5,000 miles. The last one may be a bit of a shock to people, or a big disagreement, but let me know if you agree or disagree with my points today. So fuel economy is shit, to put it nicely. This averages about 35 miles a gallon on average, 40 on a good day, and 35 being the average means it goes lower. I ride about 20 to 25 miles a day, and I have to fill up every 2.5 days. So sorry, 21 to 25 there, and then do it again back. So it's like 45 to 50 miles a day. I do about 5 days a week, and I have to fill up every 2.5 days, which costs about 20 to 25 quid depending on which petrol station I go to. This is a 17.5 litre tank. It is a big boy, but if you then compare that to the MT-07 for example, or the R7, you would get about 55 to 60 on average. I believe their tank's also a 14 litre, 13.5. Okay, I've just confirmed the MT-07 is a 14 litre tank, and that does 55 to 60 miles a gallon. So you are going to have a much better time on that, averaging out at 180 miles per tank. This is 120 and the fuel light comes on. I've tested the fuel light. I get between 15 and 25 on top of that. But yeah, not brilliant if a fuel light comes on at 180, or you know, around that on an MT-07 slash R7. So yeah, that's not brilliant. But yeah, carrying on with this, kind of comparing it to other bikes similar to it that people go for. The MT-09, similar power, especially compared to the newer ones. Since 2010, they downgraded these engines to about 117 to 121 horsepower on average, but with a boatload more torque. Like, I'm telling you, like nearly double. This bike is slow. Okay, if you are not above 8,000 RPM, you are not going to have a good time. It does not like to move. It wakes up after that, and then it turns into a rocket ship, and you feel like you're flying. But its low end torque is appalling. They tried to fix it on 2008 and again 2010. But what they really did was like lower the horsepower, increase the torque up a little bit. So this is essentially just an MT-09 that drinks a lot more fuel and is a lot more uncomfortable to ride. Well, it's a slower MT-09, which was the other bike I was going to go for. So the real kind of challenge here is the R6 has a way better top end, MT-09 has a way better bottom end. So for me, I do a bit of city riding, a lot of filtering through like 30 and 40s and 20 zones where I need to be able to maneuver quickly. The MT-09 would have been better for me for that, whereas if I was commuting on motorways most days, which I used to do, depending on which route I take to work, but the motorway uses so much more fuel. This would be better for motorways, but the MT-09 or MT-07 would be a much better decision than this, because this is just so low on torque. Okay, so to make this comparison fair, what I've got is I've got the torque specs for this R6 here, the MT-07 from 2014, which was the first generation, and the 2014 MT-09, which is also the first generation. So, put some numbers in front of you. This has 66.7 Newton meters of torque. The MT-07 has 68, so only a tiny bit more, which is still a bit more usable. Then the MT-09 has 88 Newton meters of torque, and yet the same horsepower as the R6 that was out at the time. So this bike is slow unless you're really going up the rev range. It wakes up between 8 and 10,000. If you're anywhere below that, you're going to be struggling. But I'm not at all saying this is a slow bike. I'm just saying it's slower than other big bikes in a similar class that's around the same cc. I get different engine configurations and different use cases, so it's just something to be made aware of, because I always had the impression when I was young that, oh, R6 is fast. It's not that fast unless you're above like 12,000 RPM. That's when you really get into like peak power around this band here, which is why you always see all the race guys and the guys breaking all the speed limits always like zoop, zoop. But yeah, I prefer to say like around this area, because that's where I'm most fuel efficient, because fuel is so expensive. But yeah, the final negative I'm going to make just before we go for a ride and discuss it a little bit more, By the way, I'm in no way saying this is a bad bike. I love this bike and I will not be getting rid of it. This will be a thing forever for me. So the R6 is a high performance motorcycle, which means it requires high performance parts. You put cheap parts on this, you are going to have to buy twice. They will break, they'll be unreliable. You need to put the best of the best stuff in here, otherwise it will complain and it will cost you more money in the long run. So you just need to be aware that it's going to be more expensive than tyres because it's aggressive riding. Exhaust systems aren't cheap either. Just everything is so expensive. Like, I put new spark plugs in the other day. There's another train. I put new spark plugs in the other day and it was 17 quid per spark plug. It was the Iridium ones, so a bit more expensive anyway, and they were half price. That's like 120 quid on spark plugs if they're not on sale, because there's 4 of them. And it is not easy to maintain either. To get these spark plugs, it was tank, and then a plastic cowl, then the air filter, and then I think it was like coolant tubes, and then another plastic cowling, and then the coils, and then you have to like bend it inside and then pull the plugs out with magnet. It was a pain in the ass, but worth it because the bike's a weapon. So just keep them things in mind. But yeah, this is an absolutely brilliant bike. I just kind of want to give like a fair impression of this bike, because a lot of people just say, "Yeah, there's no faults with it. It's the best bike you can get." It is the best. This is essentially just a slow MT-09 with fairings, which is why they've made the R9, believe it or not. So the R9 is the R6 replacement, 100%. The R7 did not replace the R6. The R7, I believe, was their middleweight A2 bike. The R9 is their R6 replacement, because it has, the specs are just so similar. It's got the same horsepower, better torque in a sport bike frame. Although it's a triple, more fuel efficient. It is, the R9 is the R6, just with winglets, I guess, and one less cylinder. Okay, so let's stop messing around talking. Let's actually get on the bike and we'll go for a ride. And you'll notice the sun will be out in our ride. I've come back like 3 hours later, so enjoy the sun, I guess. I'm going to ride back in the cold now on my own. So I can be a bit more enthusiastic in my helmet because I'm not as scared that I'm going to be heard by someone hiding under the bridge. Right, we talked about pros, talked about cons. Let's take it for a ride. Although I've said this bike is slow, I don't mean it's like a slow bike. I mean it's slow in comparison to other bikes available in a similar CC class. Now, I mounted that camera about an hour ago, so if it falls off, I'm not going to be shocked. Whee! So I will never, I don't want to sell this bike ever. It is such an incredible weapon and I do love it. But there are downsides to it. So we've talked about quite a lot of them. And now we're just kind of going to enjoy the ride. So as you can see right now, I think I'm in gear 2. Like 6,000–7,000 RPM is about 60 mile an hour. So if you really want to pull up to the 8,000, 10,000 RPM where it comes to life, we've just hit it already and we're already doing the national speed limit. Yeah, this bike is incredible. Just get ready to spend a lot of money on it. Oh, look, it's a horse. I've got 133 of you under my arse right now. Okay, wait, I remember, it's right here. This ain't right. Yeah, no, this isn't right. I've gone the wrong way. That is not a way through. That is a farm. I'm so sorry for disturbing all of you horses. There's another one here, let's be respectful. Hello. Okay, so that obviously used to be a road. Right, let's get gone. Let's get out of here before I get told off by a farmer. Okay, let's talk price. These bikes go between 3.5 for a shit one, or about 5 grand for a mint condition one. I got mine for about 4, so I'm in the middle. Mine's not bad, but not great. It has got a missing chunk of fairing on it. You can't actually see it. If anyone can actually point out where that missing chunk of fairing is in this video, I'll be shocked. The R6 really is a beautiful bike. Does it live up to the hype that everyone gives it, how R6 is the best track bike for the road and how it's the best out of all the 600cc class? it's really up to you. The Yamaha R6 is special to me because of how high it revs and how nice it looks. Its design from 2007 beats out the R9 2025 for me by miles. I don't need stupid winglets. I don't need, you know, all this advanced, complicated technology like cruise control, riding modes. My bike does the one thing I need it to do, and that's go. When I pull this throttle back, I get the power. The only thing with the R6 is it could definitely use a tune. They kind of make the throttle response a bit shit from factory, and I don't know why. So I'd like to have it kind of redone so it's a bit smoother, because on my bike at the moment, when you kind of pull off, it's either all or nothing, and that can be very disturbing. That felt dangerous. But yeah, there's a little bit to be desired with this bike in some areas. I wish it had better low-end torque. It's something I'm working to improve, hopefully with an exhaust and a tune. Its fuel economy is never going to get any better. I've just learned to live with it. I, on average, have to fill up every 2.5 days. Well, I tell a lie. Sometimes I fill up 3 times a week. If I go have fun in the evenings, just to and from work, it's every 2.5 days I have to fill up. It drinks fuel, so I hope you've got a high credit limit on your credit card. But let's actually get into some of the stuff you might be shocked at I'm going to say. Is the R6 good for a general road bike? No. This is a fun bike. You should save it for the track. It is made for the track, and sometimes it's a shame to see him just stuck on the road, and I say that as an R6 rider who hasn't gone on the track. So it is quite a shame. I would like to take it on the track. It's on my list to do. But let's be honest, if you want a sport bike for the road, get an R7. Okay, the R7 is going to have a much better lower end. You're going to have a much better time sat in traffic. Just pulling off is going to feel better. And on the rare occasion that you do get up to, you know, the 8,000, 10,000 RPM range on the R6, when you ride legally, if you ride illegally, just disregard this whole comment, you're going to have one hell of a time. But legal riding, you're not going to have a brilliant time. Not all the time. Sometimes I have a fucking amazing time on this bike. Whee! But yeah, it just corners so well. But then again, filtering, you need a bit of movability sometimes. You need to be able to swing the bike around. MT-07 is going to be better. So what I'm trying to say, the R6 is an incredible bike, but I don't think it lives up to the hype that the internet and TikTok and YouTube shorts have given it. I think it is just a mighty fine bike that fits in with the rest. This bike will hurt you sometimes. If you hit a speed bump or a pothole, brace everywhere. You are going to be in pain for a little while. The suspension is very hard on this bike. It is not like other bikes where it's a little bit softer, like the MT-09, where you can kind of have a little bit of a bounce and you're not going to feel it. The suspension on this bike is going to hurt when you hit a bump. It's a bit hard, a bit solid. I'm not saying it doesn't like respond, like you can obviously bounce the suspensions up and down, and I'm just saying it's tuned to be a lot harder because it's made for the track, which is the whole kind of point of this video. So let's talk about the direction I'm probably going to head in a couple years time for my next bike. I'm keeping the R6. The R6 is always going to be a staple in my life now. It's going to stay in my garage or under me when I'm riding it, and it's not going to be a bike I'll get rid of because it is going to make a brilliant track bike. That's a nice bike, look at that. Not paying attention. It's going to make a brilliant track bike. Whereas my second bike, which I'm aiming for an MT-09, is going to be a miles better commuter bike, better on fuel. I can be more comfortable when filtering through 20-mile-an-hour zones or trying to squeeze between 2 lorries. I can have better visibility through my mirrors, and you know, when you do 25 miles a day, sometimes it's better to be safer and comfortable, but yeah, that's how it is. So let's get to the final overview of this video. Yamaha R6, do I recommend it? Yes, I do. Go get yourself an R6. I feel like everyone should try a sport bike at least once. Is it good for general road riding? No. But can you put up with it? Yes. If this bike hurts, this is a new junction. I don't know how to use this yet. Okay, this lane. This is very new and people keep crashing on it apparently, so I'm interested to know why. Is this for me? Yep, green straight ahead. This used to be a roundabout. This is actually really nice now. So in conclusion, the R6 is my favourite bike of all time. I absolutely love it. We've talked about the upsides, the downsides, but I have just got to say, I have listed quite a few negatives in this video, but at no point do I dislike this bike. I've learned to put up with it and I love it. I would not trade this bike for the world. It will be staying with me. So I kind of want to know what you guys feel of the Yamaha R6 or any, similar sport bikes you've had. Oh, look at that guy. Look at him, guys. I want a Fireblade.